Hi everyone, this is Dr. Agenti. I have completed my PhD at NIT Silchar and I am working as a senior data scientist. Today I'm going to discuss one of the very important topic, what is an agentic AI with example project. I'm going to discuss how to design a multi-agent system for student management. And here I'm going to discuss various agents, how to design agent, how the one agent will communicate with other agent. So for example, I'm going to design in this use case, I'm going to design three agents, supervisor agent, which is the main agent, and then a records agent and analyst agent. And completely this project is related to student management system. So what are these agents, how to create these agents, and what framework I'm going to use, what are the advantages? Here I'm going to use LangGraph. I'm going to discuss what is LangGraph, what are the advantages you will get with a LangGraph. All those we are going to discuss. Let us share some simple PPT. As I told, I'm going to show you building an AI team. So here, what is an agent, how it will act as a team, and what is the concept of a team. So I'm going to discuss in depth about while discussing with the use case. So what is the problem? If I use just one giant AI, means if I use ChatGPT or Claude or any GPT models, I means already those models are exist which are able to answer the query, or if I give the prompt, it is able to answer. But what is the problem? If I use one giant AI, what is the problem? So for example, if you use ChatGPT, what it will happen is everything it has to perform. Like for example, if I ask a question discuss about data science or Python, so what it has to do means it has to collect the information and it has to get the information. What it will happen is everything that ChatGPT or Claude it has to do, right? What it will happen is it will get overwhelmed. So what is overwhelmed means every action it has to perform. Due to that, what it will happen is sometimes it will try to get the hallucination data. And so whenever it is performing some task, it will forget what is the main goal. So for example, it has to perform student management system and it has to analyze the student data and it has to provide some key summary insights. So while getting the data, maybe it may forget it has to summarize the data. So what it will do means it will give some hallucination results. So if I use one GPT model or one Claude for everything, what is the problem is it may try to forget what is the main goal and will get some hallucination results. And so something like, for example, one university and everything subject teaching and maintaining the faculty and maintaining the students information, everything. If I do everything, only one person, so in the university one staff is there who has to take everything. So it will be like very burden for that person and may not perform all the activities and may not expertise in all the areas. For example, non-teaching staff, they are expertise in the administration activities, but if I assign them to teach some subject, they may not teach because they don't expertise in that subject. So that's why if we use everything one, then there is maybe overwhelmed and maybe forget the main goal and hallucinate the data. The solution. So what is the solution? Instead of one giant AI, what is the solution? Solution is a team of specialists. A team of specialists means in the university, if I maintain non-teaching staff, admin staff, and teaching staff for computer science, teaching staff for electronics department. Only one staff who can teach computer science may not able to teach electronic subjects because those are not expertise. If you maintain a team, so for electrical department separate team, electronics department separate team, and CSD department separate team, if I maintain a separate team, they can able to perform their responsibilities well. So for example, instead of using giant one giant brain doing everything, so we can use multi-agent system. So what is the multi-agent system means? We can create multiple smaller focused AIs. Each agent is absolute expertise, just one thing. They can talk to each other, hand off task and solve complex problems. So for example, one person has to teach electronic subject, another person has to teach some computer science subject, and finally they can finish the syllabus and they can conduct some exam and student can pass that exam. Means instead of delivering doing all the task one person, what we are doing is we are dividing that into the task. So for example, whatever the task I'm going to explain now, right? Student management system. So where a student getting the record can be done by, so if I give student ID, it will get the student ID, a record ID. Based on the record ID, it will get the information. So that will be done by one agent. And if I wanted to provide summary, how the student is performing, so how whether he is performing well or not, that summary insights I will use another agent. So like this, we will divide the task into smaller tasks and each agent will perform a specific task, not the multiple tasks. And how the team is organized means there should be some organization. Just dividing the task into multiple agents will not work. We need to organize the team. So, like how there will be a principal, there will be the head of the department, senior faculty, junior faculty, lab technician. So, like that, here we need to organize the AI agents. So, there will be main agent called as supervisor agent. Supervisor is like, for example, if you start working in a real-time project, there will be a manager, there will be plenty of team members like front-end engineers, back-end engineers, a QA team, and so on. So all these persons are managed by the manager. Like junior fellows are managed by the team lead is managed by the manager, senior manager, and so on. So this manager is like a supervisor who will not perform all the tasks, but they will analyze what is the task. Based on the task, what it will do, it will distribute the task between the team members. Like that, so we need to design a supervisor agent. Whenever the request comes from this user, it will analyze the request and then it will divide that request which agent has to do particular task. And so this supervisor will assign the work to the workers. Workers are nothing but sub agents. And for example, after getting the student information, if it is getting the record ID, I will call record agent, which will fetch the information of the student. And if I wanted to perform analysis over the student information, I will call the analyzer agent. Like this, these are the worker agents which are specific to specific task. They will perform the required task. And so here we may get a doubt. So for example, record agent will get the records information and analyst agent has to perform the analysis over that information. How these agents will coordinate is there will be a concept called as means if you join in live project, there is a concept like they will maintain a board. So Jira board or some Scrum board they will maintain. They will assign the task to each person and it will be monitored by the scrum master. So like that, supervisor agent assign the task to the sub agents, and these sub agents whenever they will perform the task, they will update the task. We will see all this within the example program. And for this use case, I'm going to use Streamlit and Gemini and LangGraph. So why LangGraph? I will show simple PPT. Why LangGraph? What is the use of LangGraph if I use in this agentic AI approach? As I told, right? So how the agents will share the information, like a simple example, if you work in project, we will maintain a Scrum board or Jira board. In some of the companies, they will simply maintain some whiteboard. So where they will stack the task and the person name. Once the person will perform the task, they will update the task. Like this, we are going to maintain a board, but here it is not like a board, but I will show with an example how we are going to maintain the status. And as I told, I'm going to design three agents. One is supervisor agent, that is the main agent, and then records agent, analyst agent. So what this records agent will do is like a librarian. So for example, if you take one school or college, there will be a librarian. So who will be expertise in maintaining the books? They will get the information about what subject they want. For example, they wanted to securely fetch raw data from the school's database. If it doesn't guess, it just retrieve the facts, means what are the subjects, what are the books count is available, and in which rack it is available. That information maintained by the librarian. They don't know what is the concept inside that book, but they can maintain the counts, who taken what book, that kind of information maintained by the librarian. And these are specific skill set, because if I what this records agent will do means, if I give the student ID, it will get the student information, what are the subjects they have taken, what is the score. So only it will retrieve the information. So this records agent, it is a specialized skill set which is able to retrieve the information, and what is the grade, what is the attendance percentage, based on the prompt which we are going to give. So which student information you want, based on that it will provide the their attendance, grades, and so on. And the limitation here is it may not analyze the data. So it will just purely, this agent is designed to get the records information, not to summarize the data and not to summary of the or performance of the student. Just it will provide what is the grade, what are the marks, what is the attendance criteria of that particular student. And so there is another agent which is like analyzing the performance of the student, the analyst agent. So what it will do is, for example, if you take a counselor, so they are having the student's information. What they will do is in which subject the student is weak, and so where they can improve the marks. That kind of analysis we can do by using analyst agent. And so we are going to add intelligence, means the student is having 65%, 80% kind of thing. The student is struggling because of these subjects. He has to improve in these subjects. Kind of intelligence analysis we are going to provide in analyst agent. The output is something, we are going to personalize the recommendations, pinpoints where are the primary concerns, and the summary for the complete student information. As I told, we are going to build three agents: records agent, analyst agent, and supervisor agent. What is the concept of supervisor agent is, based on the prompt user is going to give, it will assign the task to records agent or analyst agent. A records agent purely to get the students information. Analyst agent which is used to provide analysis over the students information. As I told, supervisor, so for example, user prompt is how a student one is doing. So what it will do first, it will identify whether it is analyst agent or records agent. First, it will try to, it has to get the data, right? I need data first, routing to the records agent. Because how the student 101 is doing, it don't know any information. First, it has to get the students information. What are the marks? What is the attendance criteria? So first, a supervisor agent, what it will do means it will assign the task to the records agent. And once the records agent finds the grades, now supervisor agent, what it has to do, it has to analyze the data. So then it will route the request to the analyst agent, and analyst agent will provide the summary. Then supervisor agent, what it will do means job done, presenting the final answer to the user. Their flow is like that. Whenever any information is required, supervisor will send the route to the records agent. Whenever it has to analyze the data, then it will send the prompt request to the analyst agent. And finally, once if it gets the entire information, it will present the final answer to the user. Complete flow is like this. First, whenever the user types a question, and here I'm going to design a simple Streamlit app, and that question will send to the supervisor agent, and it will identify which worker, means which agent it has to perform the final action. It will decide which agent. After deciding agent will find the required data or required insights, and this will be sent to the supervisor, and supervisor will display the information to the final user. And why we need to build agentic AI? So there are many reasons, but I listed some few reasons like accuracy, scalability, logic. So why accuracy means if I don't use this agentic AI, everything will be done by only one giant AI like any Cloud AI or ChatGPT. There may be hallucinations. So to overcome that hallucinations, and we are involving a specific expertized agent. So particularly for records information or analysis or if any other task, we are going to involve a specific agent for specific task so that accuracy may improve and hallucinations will be overcome. And scalability means, for example, if everything will be done by a single agent, it may take a lot of time. But instead of that, if you wanted to add any new feature or if you wanted to add anything, instead of adding everything in a single task, what we will do, we will create a separate agent directly we can integrate. The scalability will increase if you maintain a agents. You just hire a new, I mean, for example, just one simple example I mentioned is if you wanted to design an email, if you wanted to send email to the parents, just like analyst agent and records agent, we can design one more email analyzer, email worker agent. So the task of email worker agent is to send the email to the parents. Like that, it is very scalable, and we can design agents and we can send it to the we can as means we can ask the supervisor to take particular action to call the invoke the particular agent. And logic wise, we are going to maintain a cleaned code because of instead of maintaining everything in a single code, we are dividing that task into the agents. It is maintainability will be easy, and logic wise also it is very easy to understand, and it enforces the AI to follow a logical human like through process, means fetch, analyze, report, and any other action, means each task can be done by separate agent. As I told, right, before proceeding with the code, I want to show this why LangGraph. Just I will take a few minutes to explain why LangGraph for this. So before proceeding the final code of use case, just I want to show why LangGraph. So if you see, for example, simple traditional calculator. So why the agent's importance already through the simple example I explained, you may understand what is student management system and why I need multiple agents. And it is scalable, logic, everything we discussed, right? Simple thing. So same concept. Why agents are evolved is if you use simple calculator or traditional calculator, if I ask one question, until unless it performed, it has to wait for another question. And here a simple chat GPT or Claude or Gemini web interfaces, all these are traditional kind of things. If you design a goal oriented agent, so what it will do means I will design a separate agent for separate tasks, so independent of action. So one agent will perform and another agent will perform its own task, and then it will collaborate. And multi-agent system, so which are multiple agents we are going to design. As said in the previous example, I will design one reports agent, one analyzer agent, and supervisor agent, which is to monitor all those agents. And if you need any new agents like email analyzer agent or email parsing agent or something, you can design one more agent. And why LangGraph? So LangGraph, why it is important is, so for example, which is create this LangGraph is created by LangChain. So why LangGraph is, it is completely open source library. So no need to pay anything. So it is completely open source library, which is for building controllable cyclical agents. So controllable cyclical agents. So see here, so how it will do is, it maps it maps out agent interactions using a graph. For example, simple, I wanted to design something which performs some privacy algorithms, one agent, and when an emits information, consumer related, more than privacy. I mean, so you can design different nodes, ML, defense, and flexible security related one agent. Means you can design multiple agents, and which is by how they will interact like a graph, a network of nodes. What is node? I mean, so we'll see with an example how I can design a node, how I can design a edge, and how one agent will communicate with other agent. So like a graph, we can design nodes, edges, so where multiple nodes are connected with the edges, and so that they can communicate. So what is the meaning of edge? What is the meaning of node? We'll see with an example program. The main concept, the three core concepts in LangGraph is nodes, edges, state. So what is node is? A node is Python worker, so Python function or AI agent performing a specific task. So for example, records agent, so one node, and analyst agent, one node. Means each agent will act as a node. And what is an edge is the rules, arrows defining the workflow and conditional logic. So for example, I wanted to fetch student ID, that corresponding information. Then we need to create a supervisor and an edge between the supervisor and records agent. If I get the records, then I need to route that to the records agent. I means that edge based on the rules and conditional logic, we are going to define the edges. And finally, state. As I told, state, right? A state is nothing but we are going to maintain a dictionary. So every time, whenever an agent performs any task, it will append the task. Means that the task status will be updated to that dictionary. So I will show in the program how we are going to maintain a dictionary. A whiteboard is nothing but shared memory dictionary passed between nodes. And loops and persistent memory, cyclical workflows, checkpoints. For example, cyclical workflows means unlike linear steps where we are going to perform. Linear means one by one we are going to perform. Instead of that, we are going to maintain, agents can loop back to rewrite the code until it passes test. Means until unless it will passes. For example, I am fetching some student ID. It will try to fetch the data and it will perform the complete task. Until that, it will loop back and passes until it will passes the test. It will loop back to rewrite the code until it will passes the test. And checkpoints, actually human in the loop in this example I'm not going to show, but there are many use cases which will require human in the loop. So for example, if something goes wrong, then we need to involve a human in the loop, that expertised person. Then they can validate and they can loop, means they can involve in the human in the loop, so that they will correct the action of the agent. And coding assistant workflow, for example, planner, coder, tester, logic, output. This is something we can design different nodes. So planner, which will write the logic steps on the whiteboard, and coder, which will write the actual Python script. Means this planner just define the steps, and this coder will write the actual code, and tester will test the code and run the code and see whether it is correct or not. And logic means if any loop is failing, or we need to transfer loop node 2 to node 5, that logic we need to define. And final output delivery, that student information or summary of the student, we need to send it to the user. Defining the state, as I told, right, we are going to maintain a typed dictionary. That typed dictionary, we are going to maintain the messages and whether the task is done, what task is done, what output it is written. That messages we are going to maintain a list. Current task and code errors, whether any code errors. So here we are going to define a state. So where that state is a typed dictionary. LangGraph, what it will do means whenever this dictionary sequentially to every function, means every agent it will pass, and whenever it will perform a task, it will append the task status to that typed dictionary. And what is divide and conquer means instead of performing a single agent, we are going to involve multiple agents and that particular task to the particular agent instead of performing entire task. This is concept of divide and conquer. We'll see the example program. And this for this just a simple some three records I'm creating. But if you have any relational database or Azure PostgreSQL, you can you can read the student data from SQL database or relational database or Oracle database, Azure PostgreSQL. Wherever your student information, you can replace this student DB with your actual data. So for demonstration purpose, just I created three records like Arjun Kumar, attendance is this, mass marks is this, science marks is this. You can maintain your required information in your student database and maintain unique ID for each student. Student 101, 102, 103, and so on. This is of your choice. You can read your own database instead of my data, just this sample database. For demonstration purpose, I have created three students and actual code is here. And there are three agents I told, right? Supervisor agent and records agent and analyst agent. And here I told, right, we are going to maintain typed dictionary. So what this typed dictionary contains is we are going to maintain what is the next agent we need to call and student ID, because if I wanted to get the student information or if I wanted to summarize the student information, I'm going to use student ID and messages. So what are the base message means whether what kind of task it is doing and whether the task is done and required output. All those we are going to maintain in this typed dictionary. And here I'm using Gemini model. So just I'm going to use some free version, but if you have licensed version, then you can replace this API key. Just this is the dummy API key. I will show you how to create your own API key and while working. Just creating a GPT model, a Gemini model. And as I told, this is the main logic supervisor route. In the supervisor route, so what we are doing is I am defining the prompt. You are a supervisor for a student management system. Analyze the query and decide who should handle it next. Means if it is a records, I am providing uh, three options. One is records, analyst, and end. So what this records agent will do is if the user wants to fetch the grades and check attendance, see general profile details. It means if the user wants to do anything, these actions, go and ask records agent to work on this. If the user wants to do any analysis like evaluation, performance analysis, risk alerts, and student recommendation, then call this analyst agent. And if the query is answered or irrelevant, so if they wanted to fetch any of these two, answer the query. Otherwise, if it is irrelevant, just stop the system. So just call the end event and user query. So whatever the user query, user is going to ask the prompt, right? You need to pass that user query. And I'm calling LLM invoke and the human message, that prompt I'm going to pass. And after passing the prompt, here I'm going to analyze the response. So first I'm going to take the user prompt and I'm going to clean that response from the user prompt. I will find whether they are expecting records or analysis. If there is anything records in the clean response, then call the next agent is records. If anything is analyst, then call the analyst agent. If nothing is related to records or is analyst, then call the end agent. So now the records agent is this. There are two agents, as I told, right? There are two agents. One is records agent, one is performance analyst agent, and this is supervisor agent. There are three agents I'm defining: supervisor, a records agent, and performance analyst agent. And students records agent. Here I'm getting the student ID. So get the state from the agent state, and from this state get the student ID. And if the student is there in the student DB, so if it is not there in the student DB, so whatever the student DB, you are going to read the student details, right? If the student ID is not there in the DB, then just send the message system error, student ID not found or invalid. So just you need to means you are going to replay from the agent that is student ID is not found. Once if the ID is there in the student DB, fetch the student name, attendance, grades, means whatever the information you wanted to fetch, just to fetch that information and return that information from the student agent. This student records agent, it is mainly to get the fetch the student information. And after fetching the information, and if you see, it is always updating the messages and the summary, what is the information. This summary is nothing but student information. It is updating in the messages and calling the agent. Means why it is calling the end means once it will perform this action of getting the student information, just it is ending that agent. And this performance agent, so first it will check whether student is there in the student ID or not. After that, if it is there in the student ID, and here I written a some simple prompt, but based on your requirement, you can modify this prompt like you are an academic performance analyst. Evaluate the following student metrics. So what is the name of the student, attendance, what are the math, science, English marks, and so on, and provide concise academic evaluation, whether the performance status is excellent or not, what are the primary concerns, what are the actionable study recommendations. And so just I'm asking, keep it tone as a professional tone. So this prompt based on your requirement, you can modify. Currently, I'm asking my analyst agent. So get the performance of the student. So what are the different subject marks based on that? And find out what is the performance status, what are the primary concerns, what are the actionable study recommendations. And you can see it is returning the response, and this response I'm appending it to the messages. So finally, once every agent will perform the action, right, it will update the typed dictionary so that other agent will get the information what is happening. And so finally, I need to create a state graph, right? So agent state, and so here I am preparing route after supervisor. And so what is the next agent it has to call, right? I'm creating a route after supervisor, and I'm creating a workflow. So what is the state graph, agent state, and this workflow I'm adding three nodes: supervisor, records, analyst. And so workflow added start supervisor. First it will start the supervisor, and then if the supervisor, if it checks, if it requires records, it will call records agent. If it wants to call analyst based on the user prompt, it will call the analyst agent. And once if all the actions are performed, it will stop the agentic system. So here I am creating the workflow with the three nodes: supervisor, records, and analyst. And workflow dot add edge records. I means I am adding the edges, records, and analyst, and creating the complete graph. So here we are creating a graph like structure. That means, so here we are creating a graph like structure, supervisor, and three nodes we are creating: records agent, records agent, and analyst agent, analyst agent. And edges also we are creating, And based on the whether it requires records or analyst, it will call the required agent. And remaining code is simple Streamlit application where I'm asking the person, means I will display the student information. I will ask the user to select the corresponding student ID, and based on the ID, it will get the student information. And means if it just read the info, and if it just needs the student information, it will call the student records agent. If it has to analyze the performance, then it will call the analyst agent. So this is simple Streamlit code. So where I'm preparing the student information as a data frame, and then I'm providing select the active student which you wanted to select. So providing an option for the user to select the active student, and then session state, and here chat messages I will run and I will show you. And I'm taking the query from this user. So whether they wanted to ask the records or performance review or recommendation, I will ask the user to enter their prompt, and based on the prompt, it will take the user, and I will run and I will show the remaining code. So before running, what I will show you is how to create the API key. So there is aistudio.google.com. Just go here and create API key. Just I wanted to use free Gemini model. If you have any licensed key, directly you can place licensed API key. In case for just a practice purpose, you can create your API key. Let us say Akem test key. Something I am giving the key name is Akem test key, create key. So this is free Gemini model I am going to use. So copy this key, and in your code just replace this key with this key. Once if you create a key, right, just replace your key. And so here what model you wanted to use and what temperature you wanted to use. So usually zero temperature, which will gives more accurate results. If you give higher temperature, zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.9 or 1.2 something, then it will gives more creative answers based on your requirement, whether you want more creative answers or what model you wanted to use. Based on that, you can change the model and temperature. And after changing, just open the command prompt, or here also in the terminal you can run, or you can open the command prompt. You can open the command prompt and see here, run this example program. Since this is a Streamlit application, how to run this Streamlit application is Streamlit, Streamlit, run Agentic, your program name. So just I given the program name is Agentic example. So Streamlit run agentic example.py. Once it will render the Streamlit app, I will try to explain the remaining thing. You can see the Streamlit application. So in the left side, just I'm displaying whatever the student's information I have, student IDs and corresponding information. And here I'm giving an option for the user to select the active student. And if you open your code and see, first this student information in the Streamlit tab. So student information, student database quick view. So student database quick view, I'm displaying in the front left side, and then select active student. So whatever the student information they wanted to retrieve, they can select the active student. And then I'm asking the user to enter their query. If you see, once if they select the active student, and I'm asking whether you wanted to ask records, performance review, or recommendation. So what exactly you are expecting, and that information they have to enter the prompt. Once that prompt is entered, I'm showing some spinner, so agents discussing query. I means the supervisor agent will discuss which agent it has to execute, and then it will take that query, and it will take that student id, and it will pass the next agent. What is the agent it has to trigger, and that agent will be invoked, and final output will be displayed to the user. And let us ask some simple query. I have some sample input query. So let us say I wanted to ask student 102 information, right? Student 102. So who is student 102 is, so student 102 is Neha Reddy. Just I wanted to get her maths and science. So show me her grades in maths and science. So which agent is it has to call? So it has to get the information. So it has to get the information means it has to call the records agent. So agents discussing query. So internally it will trigger which agent it has to call, whether records agent or so analyst agent, which agent it has to call. It will discuss within the agents, and then it will display the, here it will call the records agent because it has to get the information from the records agent. So it will discuss within the agents, and then it will perform the required action, and then it will display the information to the user. Actually, this API key is there, right? That wrongly uh, updated in wrong location. So I have to update in the correct location. Then that's why it's got error. Now it will work. So just hit enter. It will try to coordinate with the query. You can see student record found, and name of the student is this, attendance is this, and mass is 45, science is 52, English is 58. So this I'm asking record, right? It will get the information from the records agent. And let us say I wanted to know the performance of the student. Can you analyze overall, or please provide actionable study recommendations for her? So I can call something like this. And then which agent it will call? Analyst agent. So if I ask this question, so please provide some additional actionable recommendations for her means it will call the analyst agent. So agents is discussing query. First it will decide which agent it has to perform. Then it will call the corresponding agent. You can see it is providing actionable in information like performance status at risk because the student having 45 marks, 52 marks, and English also less marks. And primary concerns, Sneha's attendance is 65%, A significant concern means a minimum percentage of attendance and low marks in math, science, and English. And actionable recommendations is prioritize attendance means come to the classes regularly and listen the class. Target subjected focus. So math also see has to focus and some concepts in English. Structure study routine. So develop a consistent daily study schedule. Active learning and seeking support. Review and reinforce. I means which agent it will call analyst agent, not the records agent. So you need to clearly remember, so based on the prompt which user is going to give, right, then it will decide the supervisor agent. So that's the concept, right? So how it will decide which agent it has to call means, so whether records agent or analyst agent, we are designing two agents and one supervisor agent. So records agent, so in the first case, I'm giving the student ID and I'm asking to get the math and science grades. So math is 45, all these things we are returning. And I'm asking some actionable study recommendations for her. So which agent it will call? It will call the analyst agent because it has to perform some actionable insights and then display the recommendations, primary concerns, and pinpoints primary concerns and drafts helpful summary for a user. I means here analyst agent. So how it will call means based on the means based on the agent state. So first the supervisor agent, which will decide which agent it has to perform, and then if it is getting the records information, records agent. If it has to analyze the performance, analyst agent. And everything will be maintained in the records means it will update the typed dictionary. So every time it will update, whenever it will get the information, it will update the typed dictionary. This is about Agentic AI framework, how the agents will work, and how you can design multiple agents. You can practice n number of use cases. You can try to design multiple agents. And so here I tried only two agents, right? You can design something like you can prepare a progress report and send it email to the parents, or you can send a report to the class teacher, or you can, I mean, so you can you can prepare some bar charts or some charts based on the user means the student performance. Like this you can design multiple agents. You can improve this project a lot to maintain actual requirement of your university. Yeah, so that's all for agentic AI framework. Thank you all.